Follow along this month as big progress has been made. The main line is up and running. All the connections for wiring to the track are done and tortoise switch machines are in. Over the course of the last weekend, I was able to complete all of the bench work that will house and hold the track for the layout. Everything is in place. I even have center track lines drawn all the way throughout the layout where the track is going to be put. And then I also marked where the turnouts are going to be. So this here is a 30.5 inch radius curve. It could be nice, as prototypical as possible for my auto racks. And then you can see all the different tangents and curves I have laid in here. Also for the turnouts again, I have done a little bit of work laying out how South Akron Yard is going to look with their turnouts, and then also put all the plywood in here that goes around. This then jumps out to about 4 inches of separation for downtown Akron, which is an old Amtrak station I'm going to model. And then this is where we left off the layout update last time, where I had roughly put in a Shulman, how it's going to look. Here are some new locomotives I got over the past week. These are the Akron SD40-2s that have been on pre-order for about the past 25 months in the HLCX leasing scheme. These were routinely seen in Akron on the New Castle sub around 2014 to 2016, so they'll be great additions to the manifest trains and intermodal trains going around the layout. One thing that I seem to love to do is to measure once and realize that I measured wrong. This here was a mistake where it should have been 16.25 inches, and for some reason I read the measuring tape as 14.25, so that's why I have this gap here and it's not perfectly flush. When I come around the fascia, I'll be able to fill some of the stuff in with scenery, so it's no big deal, but it's a good word of caution. Always make sure you measure twice and you have the correct measurements prior to cutting the wood. Here's a view of all the cork roadbed put in for the main line. I have the soup cans holding it down for part of the sections, and then coming over to push pins till I ran out of those. I have the entire main line done. On this end here, I've already sanded the cork down to remove some of the sharp edges, and track will be able to be laid. I have a couple Atlas turnouts that I'm going to have to use on the main line, and for those I installed little jumper feeders, which is copper wire, so this will allow the power from the outside rail to be able to also power the frog. Well, frog's up here, but the rail going to the frog. Last night I glued down the track for the area of Barberton going up to Lambert. Here's the finished track now that it's been secured and dried overnight. Next step is going to be to do the peninsula and make my way to the South Akron Yard. I also went through yesterday and sanded down all the rough spots of the roadbed around the layout. After a full day's work, this is where I've ended off. I've used some auto racks to test the track that I did last night that I took this morning, and then I was able to do the outside main, and the inside main is currently drying. I was able to put the crossover switches in, and then both tracks, the outside main and the inside main in this case, have been glued down. These 3 pieces of flex track are the last few pieces that need to go in. This back track is already glued down, so tomorrow I should be able to finish it up and have a main line. This is gonna end the layout update for this month. I fell behind a little bit in videoing each progression update. Last I believe we talked about having the main line here finished, but as you guys probably saw in my last YouTube video I posted a couple weeks ago, I officially do have the full main line finished for this layout and the New Castle sub that this is on. I've just been testing some trains out here. Each of the block sections, as I use them, I'm not gonna have signals, is about 15 feet long. So that will hold 11 to 12 auto racks plus 2 engines. And on the inside track, or the outside track there, I have an intermodal train. So I put a lot of work in trying to get the track done. In addition to that, I also did all of the wiring for the bus line for each of my circuit breakers and feeders that go up to the track. And all of the turnouts on the main line are powered by tortoise switch machines. So there's 14 of those here on the layout between the staging yard and the main line. All of them have been working. I'm using a combination of switch at 8s and also these switch at 2s, I believe it was, to be able to do the movements or to be able to throw the turnouts from my phone and also from the power cab. Here's a look at underneath the layout for the crossovers. These are hooked up together with the switch at 2. And I have a separate bus line that runs just for and a separate circuit breaker that runs for all the turnout controls, so that if there is a short circuit somewhere on the 3 districts that I have, the 4th district, which is going to be the turnouts, will continue to be operational. But yeah, this is where I'm at. Thing looks pretty good. One of the things that I did notice is I have a little bit of a hump where the 2 pieces of plywood meet. If I were to do this again, there's also a brace right here. That's why I lined it up together. But if I were to do this again, I would shift the wood off the brace and then put a piece of plywood underneath to make it a little more flush. It runs perfectly smooth. You can't even tell. Oh, you can tell there's a little bit of a hump and a dip when a train goes over, but it's not enough to uncouple the cars. So I might leave it for now. If it does become a problem, I'll pull the track off and sand it down a little bit more. But yeah, I'll take you guys around real quick. But excited to start working on more of the switching operations. So A. Shulman is going to be next, and then I need to get South Akron Yard going, which is going to be right here. One of the things with South Akron Yard is that I am 1 turnout short, since one of my Walthers number 6 turnouts, it just was not working correctly for me, so I decide not to use it on the staging yard. So I had to put one of those turnouts in its place. Not a huge problem. I have some Atlas dash 8s coming in here shortly, so I will probably just add that to the list. But for those who are interested, the outside radius here is 30.5 inches and the inside radius is 28. These are the biggest curves on my layout. On the 2 turnbacks over there, they're a little smaller, about 26 or 28, 25, 20, 27, 24, depends on where you're looking. On this spot here, I need to sand the cork down so I can create that transition into Barberton Yard. And then I already have the outline for the track that will be able to hook it up to Barberton Yard itself. Now, fortunately, the weather is starting to turn here, so I'll be starting to spend some more time outside. So I think progress on the layout will slowly taper off here as we head into spring, summer months. I'm still gonna try to post a layout update each month. However, I think the amount of progress that is gonna be made for each month is going to decrease a little bit. This was a lot of work that I tried to put in just to get the main line running for this month, so I can at least be operational with some trains. And then here, another example of the tortoise switch machines. This is at Lambert. And then this one here, again, connects to this to Barberton Yard. So with that, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for everyone who enjoyed the video of the first mainline train that went around, and we'll catch you guys later.